Welcome back, viewers. I'm here, Esther, and we are going to talk more about programming here. So, welcome to this video on Java fundamentals. If you are new to programming or just starting your journey with Java, this is the perfect place to begin. So, today we will cover everything you need to get started with Java, like variables, data types, operators, conditional statement, loops, and function. This video is structured to ensure you learn the fundamentals in an easy to follow manner. So why we are learning Java? Java is one of the most popular and versatile programming language, making it a great choice for beginner and professional. Let's see here's why. So the first one, it is widely used. Java powers web application, Android apps and an enterprise system, making it in high demand globally. And another thing, beginner friendly. So its simple syntax and strong error checking makes it easy to learn and debug. And here comes another platform independence. So it's like write once, run anywhere. Java programs can run on any device with JVM, offering unmatched portability. And career opportunities. So it's always about career opportunities, right? So Java developers are highly sought after for the role in web development and Android apps and enterprise solution with competitive salaries. And secure and reliable. Java's built-in security features and robust architecture make it ideal for applications requiring reliability. And rich ecosystem. So with powerful frameworks like Spring and Hibernate and tools like IntelliJ and Eclipse, Java simplifies development and enhances productivity. Now let's get into fundamentals of Java. So let's see about variables and data types. So variables are like containers that store some data and the data type which defines what kind of data a variable can hold. In Java, every variable must have a data type. So here is the syntax of variables. So if we have to declare any variable, we have to follow the syntax. And syntax is very important in programming. If you know the syntax, you can write everything. So here, if you are developing one program, then you must define one variable, and always a variable name should contain a data type, like what is the data type, like what's the data type of the data it is storing, and also its value. Even like if you don't know like what's the value this variable is going to store in future means, then you can simply have it like data type and just the variable name. You don't have to store the value, and you can put a semicolon. Semicolon plays an important role in Java, so don't forget to add semicolon at the end of the line in a specific lines. Okay, so here we saw like what the syntax looks like, right? Now let me go with some example. And yeah, so far I didn't tell you anything about data types, no? So I'm just going with one int. So this is one of the data type. It will contain some numbers like from negative to positive numbers. So for example, I can go with the negative 5, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3. All these numbers comes under integers, and to mention the integer we use int as a data type. So if I have to store one variable or one number, let's say I have to store my age, and the variable name is age here, and I'm going to store one number, right? Because age cannot be like apple or 5.33, no. So it should have only integer type. So I'm mentioning int as a data type here, and age is the variable name. And if I don't want to store the variable value at the beginning means, then I can simply go with int age. So I just declared this variable, and if in case I have to create one variable with its value itself means, then I can create like this int age and equal to, I can go with 21. So this is how we use variables. And here is one question. So here I just used this age as a variable name, right? So what are the different ways we can derive the variable name? Can I give a variable name like one age or age comma 5? Is it possible? So here we should know like how to declare a variable name, like what are the rules under defining the variable name. So let's see one by one. So let's see rules for naming variables in Java. So a variable name can consist of capital letters like A to Z and also lowercase letters from small a to Z. So it can contain all these alphabets, and also it can contain digits from 0 to 9 and only two special characters such as underscore and the dollar sign. And also, the first character must not be a digit. For example, you cannot specify anything like this. This is not applicable. And also, blank spaces cannot be used in variable names. You cannot write like age space number. This won't work. Instead, you can go with age underscore num. This will work. No? Okay, and we have specific words reserved for Java as a keywords. So those keywords cannot be used as variable names, and variable names are case sensitive. If you are using Apple for one variable and you cannot use the same one for another one, and the same time, if you are having another variable name as Apple with capital A means, then that's as a different variable name. Both are not same, so they are very case sensitive. And there is no limit on the length of a variable name, but by convention, it should be between 4 to 15 characters. And variable names always should exist on the left hand side of assignment operator. Now let's see about data types. So in Java programming, we have like a different data types based on the type of data. As I mentioned before, to mention or to derive any number means to define some variable which can hold some number means we can use int only if it is under integers, like from negative to positive numbers where all of them are whole numbers. But in case if I have to store some number like 5.3 means, can I use int? Is it possible? But in integer we have only whole numbers, right? Then we cannot store 5.3, right? So here comes the concept of data types. So we should know what data type we have to use in programming based on the type of data we are going to use. And in Java, we have two different types of data types. So they are like primitive and not primitive. So the first one is primitive data type and another one is non-primitive data types. So under this primitive data type, we have around 8 different types of data type. The first one we can go with byte and short and int and long, and also we have float. Then here comes the double and char. And under non-primitive types, we will be having all the classes and arrays and strings under this, and we will be seeing about all these non-primitive types in our next video. So now let's see one by one all the data types under this primitive type. So first one we have here is byte. So where it comes with a byte, it has a storage of 1 byte. So the size of this byte is just in 1 byte, which means it's of 8 bits. And if you don't know a better understanding about these bytes and bits means, I will add one video regarding this and you can have a look there. And for this 1 byte, the range of the numbers we can store under this byte data type are from negative 128 to positive 127. And yeah, so next here comes the short. So for the short, we can store the numbers between negative 32,768 to 32,767, which means we can have 2 bytes of size for this short data type. And the next one we have here is int data type. For the int, we can store the data up to 4 bytes of size. So that's like 32-bit storage. And under this, we can store a big number that's around like 10 digits from negative to positive. And yeah, so here comes the another data type, long. So under this, we can store 8 bytes of numbers, that's around 64 bits. Okay, so we just sound like we have seen about all the numbers, right? Like all those whole numbers. But when we have any decimal numbers means, then we can go with the float and double, where under the float we can store 4 bytes of numbers. For example, we can go with some numbers 3.1453, anything like that. We can store all the decimal numbers here. And under this float, the main point we have to consider is so after the point, so here if we have 3 dot means after this dot we can store like up to 7 decimal digits of precision. And when it comes with double, we have the size of 8 bytes, and approximately we can store like 15 decimal digits of precision here. It's like we can store something like 000 and the double. So it will be used more in laboratory records. So for say like in the laboratory or something like that, we have to store some more precise value, no? So in that time we can go with double data type. And care, so here is our different data type where it will help us to store all the letters in the keyboard and like non-graphical characters also. For example, we have A, capital A and B, C, all these alphabets and the number, these are just digits, no? And also we have some other symbols like this, right? So all these characters we can store it under char data type. And and also we have another data type called Boolean. So in this Boolean data type, it contains 1 bit of size where we can store just one value that can be either true or false. In programming, it will be stored as 0 and 1. So for 0, it stands for false, whereas for this 1, it stands for true. So these are Boolean data type. So here is an example programming for this data type and the variables. So here we are declaring one variable with the data type of int, which means it can store the integer, and age is the variable name here, and we are assigning 25. And another thing we are storing here is salary, and salary can be of decimal value, so we are going with the double data type. And to store the grade of a student, we have to store some letters, right, like A, F, like that. So we can go with a char data type, so that stands for a character. It can store all the characters in the system. And another thing, so if we have to know like whether it is eligible or is possible, means on that time we will be having only yes or no answer, right? So for that type we can go with a Boolean data type, and the value we can go with true or false. So you can give either this true or this true. In programming both will work. It simply take it as 1 or 0 only. end. So here I am printing all those values. So by using system.out.println, I am printing first age and semicolon and a little space. Then I am printing the age. And the age I mentioned here is 25. So it will be printed as 25. And the next one. So it comes to the next line and it will print salary and semicolon and a little space. Then it is printing the salary, and the salary given here is 50,000.75. Yeah. And the next one, we are printing the grade. So grade semicolon and space. We are printing the grade, and the grade we assigned is A. And the main thing we have to focus here is, if we are defining one character means, then you have to specify that within a single quote. This is an important part. In the meanwhile, here we can see the double quote for more than one character. So this is the difference between a char and the string. So if we have a single letter means, then we have to define it under single quotes. But when we have more than one character, that's like a combination of character, that's called the string or a statement. So for that, we have to define that under the double quotes. So hope you understand the difference between the character and the string. And yeah, so the next one, we had to print the eligibility. So we can print eligibility and a semicolon. And here we are printing the eligibility. And is eligible variable contains true, so it will print 1 here, because it contains a storage of 1 bit low. So it's simply like this size, and here we can either store 0 or we can store 1. So this is about a data type and the variables. So now let's see about operators. Operators in Java allows us to perform operations on variables and values. Let's go through the main types of operators in Java. So we have different types of operator, and I'm going to cover a few major types of operator. To know more about the operator and its like complex situations and how to solve them, I will post another video about that in detail. So now let's see what are the major operators used in Java. So the first one we have is arithmetic operator and relational operator, logical and assignment. Now let's see what these arithmetic operators will do. So the arithmetic operators are nothing but, we all know these operators such as like plus, minus, multiplication and division, and along with this we have an extra operator which is called modulo division. So we all know about these plus, minus and multiplication, division. No, if we use plus means, for example, I am having two numbers like int a equal to 5 and int b equal to 6 means, if I write int c equal to a plus b means, then this a plus b will give me 11, and that 11 will be assigned to the variable c, right? And similarly for the negative, which is minus and multiplication and division operators, it will do its own job, right? But when it comes with this modular division operator, it will give us the remainder when we divide a by b. For example, if I write, and instead of 15, I'm giving, sorry, instead of 5 for a, I'm going to give 15 for a. Now, if I write int d equal to a modulo division b means, then this will give me d equal to 3. You wonder how, right? So that's nothing but when we divide 15 by 6, so if we do 15 divided by 6, then we all know that the quotient is 2, because 2 times 6 is equal to 12, and we can't go more than that, right? And when we have 12, but we have the number 15 here, right? So 15 minus 12 is nothing but 3. That is the remainder which can't be divided by 6, right? So yes, this modular division will give you the remainder of the division. Okay, now let's go with other operators. So now let's see about relational operators here. So the relational operators, this will always help us to compare two different values. For example, if someone asks like whether 5 is greater, or like let's go with some variables, I have some age details of two person like age 1 and age 2, and I just want to tell like which is the greater value. So in that case I have to compare, no? So for these comparison purpose, we are given with this relational operator where we can compare two values, and those operators are, we have equal to, it will help us to check whether they are equal, and not equal to, this will help us to check whether it is not equal to the another number, and less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So we are given with all these operators just to compare two different values. And one thing to note here is we should be able to compare only two values. That's the main thing about this relational operator. And also these operators, like whatever the operators which are depending on two operands, like two variables or two expressions means, then those operators are called as a binary operator. So which means all the arithmetic and relational logical assignment, all these operators are called binary operator. And yeah, so for this relational operator, the another main important thing is you have noticed one thing from the arithmetic operator. When you were adding two values like 5 and 6, you end up with 11, right? Which is again another number. If suppose if you are adding 5.3 plus 2.5 means, then you will be end up with 7.8. So it's like the same data type, right? When we are adding the float values, we are getting the float as an output. But for the relational operator, we are comparing, right? Whether this is greater or lesser. So that kind of thing, right? For that, we always end up with the result like yes or no, right? So yes, your prediction is correct. So here, when you compare two elements, like here I'm going to compare the age 1 and the age 2, and I'm going to assign age 1 as 5 and age 2 as 6, and I just want to make sure whether they are same or not. In that case, if I write like age 1 equal to age 2 means, then this will give me the result of the data type boolean. Yes, so this will give us either true or false based on the input we provide. So here, what are the values we are giving here? 5 and 6, right? For the 5 and 6, when we compare with these operator, so definitely they are not same. So this will end up giving false. If suppose if I write age 1 is less than or equal to age 2 means, then this will give me true, because 5 is less than or equal to 6, right? So this is true. So these are the relational operator that help us to compare two different values. I hope you understand about relational operator. Now let's go with the logical operator. So under this logical operator, the one thing we have to discuss here. So in the relational operator, I already mentioned that we can only compare two values, right? What if we have another value to be compared? For example, I have age 1 and age 2 and age 3. So in this case, I have to find out which one is the greatest age. It may be age 1 or age 2 or age 3. But I already told you one thing, that these relational operator can compare only two different values, right? But if we are given with three different values here, So here comes the importance of logical operator. So we have operators called double ampersand, that's logical and logical or, and not, which is an exclamatory mark. So these are the logical operator. This will help us to find the result for the combined conditional results. Like this will help us to use to combine conditions. For example, if we have to find out which is the biggest one means, then I can write if the age 1 is possible to get the biggest one means, then age 1 greater than age 2 and also. So in this condition I wrote age 1 is the biggest one. So if this gives us true and also the age 2 is age 1 is greater than age 3. And if this gives us true means, then if both the conditions are true, then our result will be true. So which means we know that age 1 is the greatest one. So by using all these logical operator, we can find out with these type of condition. And for this logical and, I will give you some truth table that will help us to know like what kind of thing we have to do when it comes with like a multiple combination of conditions. So here, if we have like different conditions, let's say we have condition 1 here and the condition 2 here and the result. So if you are going with AND operator means, and if the first condition gives us false, and here I am representing false with 0, and the second condition is also giving us false, then our result will be false. And this is for logical AND. Okay, and logical AND will be represented with a double ampersand symbol in programming. And if the first condition is giving us true and the second condition is giving us false again, then our result will be 0 again, which is false. And in another case, if it is 0 and 1, then our result will be 0 again. Only if both the conditions are true, then only our result will become true. Which means whenever we have a scenario where we have to check whether the first condition is true and the second condition is true, then only we have to do some certain thing means, on that case we can go with logical AND operator. Now let's talk about the logical OR operator. It's completely opposite to this OR operator. So it's very simple. If I'm telling you to pick any two balls means any two balls, or let's say I'm going with one simple example. I have one condition, so you have to fill in this box or this box. So I'm giving a condition with OR, so you have to fill either this or that. So in this case, if my question is to fill in any one box or both the box, right, I'm giving you an option. So if you're filling the first box here means, then it's okay for me. Or if you are filling instead of this box, if you're filling this box, then it's totally fine for me. Or even if you're filling both the boxes, it's totally fine for me. But when you're not filling anything, then it's not fine for me. So it's like it's against my condition, right? So yeah, you predicted that. So for the logical OR, when both the conditions are false, then only our result will be 0 for logical OR. In all other cases, like 1, 0 will be result with 1. Like if any one of the condition is true, then our result will be true. And I hope I have given you one simple example that makes you more understandable about this concept. And the next one we have is logical NOT. And for this logical NOT, it's simply with one single operator, and we don't need two conditions. It's enough with one condition. So if you're having one condition, and always this logical NOT should be placed in the front. So if I'm putting this exclamatory mark before this condition means whatever the condition given here, if it is true means then our result will be not of true will be false. Or if we give not of false means then our result will be true. In simple terms, it always gives you the opposite. So that's all. I hope I have covered all the things about the logical operator. So in this video, let's deep dive into increment and decrement operators in Java, which are commonly used for manipulating variables, particularly in loops and calculation. So what are increment and decrement operator? So these are the operator used to increase. So these are the operators used to increase or decrease the value of a variable by 1. So it's simply like if we have one variable like int num equal to 5 means, then if we use this increment or decrement operator means it will auto update that variable's value by increasing 1 or decreasing 1. So they work with a numeric data type like int, float, double, etc. So types of operators like under this increment and decrement operator, we have different types. There are nothing but we have increment is one type and the another one is decrement. So increment operator is nothing but the plus plus operator and the decrement is minus minus operator. And the one thing we should know here is the increment operator is also called as an unary operator. So unary operator is nothing but an operator which works or which operates based on or depends on only one operand. So which means if we have one operand like num means we can use this plus plus here so that this plus plus operator will work only on this operand. So it's like there is like we don't need to have two different variables or two different operands to make this work like a plus operator. So if we have to sum any numbers means we need two numbers, right? If we have to use this plus means we have to put it in the middle of two operand. But for the increment operator, we don't have to worry about that. It will work with a single operand alone. And in this case, we can use this plus plus either here like after the variable or before the operand like plus plus num. So in both the cases, it will work. And we know that increment operator will increment that variable's value by 1 unit. Okay, in similar way for the decrement operator, it will decrease the value of that variable by 1 unit. So what's the point of having the plus plus in the front and rear position? Why do we have to worry about that? Is that matters? Yes, that really matters. So based on the position of that increment operator, it can able to change the value of that variable also. Not that variable, maybe in the operation of any particular moment, it will change the operation. That is possible, and we will see in this video. Under this increment operator, we will be having two different types. One is pre-increment and another one is post increment. So this pre-increment is nothing but whenever the increment operator is placed before the variable like plus plus x or even so instead of just going with increment, I'm going with the decrement in the same time. So or we can go with minus minus x. This is nothing but decrementing or incrementing 1 unit one unit in the manner of pre-decrement or pre-increment, and I will tell you how it works. So this thing is doing one change in the program, which is the variable is incremented or decremented before its value is used in an expression. So it's nothing but if we have int a equal to 5 and I'm putting int b equal to plus a. In this case, what will happen is, we all know that a will be incremented, right? In the case of pre-increment, as I mentioned before, as the variable is incremented or decremented before its value is used in an expression, right? So, before assigning the value to b, first it will be incremented. So that is pre-increment. So now the a is 6 because it got incremented, right? So once if it is incremented, now it will assign it to this b variable. So which means b is 6 now. And then what's the point of post increment? If we have x plus plus means, then I'm using the same example. I'm having int a equal to 5 and I'm putting int b equal to a plus plus. Now the thing is, the variable's value is used in an expression before it is incremented or decremented, which means before incrementing, the value will be used or the value will be used in its purpose. Like what's the purpose of a here? It has to assign to b. So now first the value will be assigned to b, so which means b is 5 now. Then once its work has been done, it will be incremented. So now the value of a is a plus plus, that's nothing but 6. So the value of b is 5 and the value of a is 6. So this is the difference between pre-increment and post-increment. In similar manner, we have in similar manner, we will be having pre-decrement and post-decrement. So if we are putting minus minus in the front means, then it will be decreased first, then it will be used. And if we put a minus minus means, then a will be used first, then it will be decremented. If I am having system.out.println and where I am printing either minus minus a or a minus minus, let's see what will happen. So if I am having a equal to 5 over here means, and within the print statement, what I am having? I am having minus minus a, which means it will be pre-decremented first. So a will be 4, then this 4 is stored here, which is that a exactly contains 4 right now, and then it will print the value of a. So technically it will print 4. Okay, now let's see how it works on post decrement. So for the post decrement, what I will be having is, instead of minus minus a, I will be having a minus minus, right? So in this case, a is the first thing we have here. So a will be used here first, which means whatever the value is present in a will be printed first. So technically 5 will be printed first and later it will decrement the value of a. So now if I suppose print again with system.out.println and print a means, then this will print 4, because after printing this a and post decrementing, the value of a is currently 4 because it got decremented. Now when I print a, it is giving me 4. So this is the difference between post increment and pre-increment and post-decrement and pre-decrement. So let's go with a little summary between these two. So when it comes with pre-increment or pre-decrement, the variable is incremented or decremented before its value is used in an expression. In the same time, for the post-increment or post-decrement, the variable's value is used in an expression before it is incremented or decremented. Now let's see about assignment operator. And in our previous concept, we saw like how the increment and decrement operator works, right? And in that point, we know one thing, that it will always update its value by only one unit, right? But when it comes with assignment operator, and yeah, so technically in programming, the assignment is nothing but we assign some value to one variable, right? That can be any value or an expression, anything, but we will be assigning. And here we have different types of assignment operator, such as equal to. Yes, as I mentioned before, equal to, we are assigning some value by using equal to sign, and plus equal to, and minus equal to, and multiplication equal to, and division equal to. So when we use this single equal to sign, this means we are assigning something to something, like some variable. But what is the purpose of these variables? Why do we have to do, why do we have to work on these operators? What is the purpose? Say it's simple, if we have to say like actual purpose, in a increment operator, what we did is we have to increment any variable by one unit, right? But with this assignment operator, we can update it with as many as value, because the disadvantage of increment operator is we can increment it by only one unit. What if I have to update it by another unit, like 2 times or 3 times, anything like that, or any other values? Like instead of incrementing by one unit, I may do some other operation, and from that I will get some result, and with that I can update. But we can't do it with increment operator, right? But with assignment operator we can achieve. This plus equal to is nothing but, it stands for, if I am giving a plus equal to b, means that stands for a equal to a plus b, which means if I have to update the variable a by b units, means then I can use it. It's simply I am adding b with a and I am updating the a again. So if I'm having a equal to 5 and b equal to 2, means if I put a plus equal to 2, means then that 2 is nothing but b, then which means a equal to, that a is nothing but 5 and plus b is 2. Now the a value is 7. So it is self-updating. But in an increment operator, we have to update it by only one unit. But by using assignment operator, we can update it as many as value, like based on a requirement. Even if we have to decrement, we have a decrementer, like a minus equal to sign. So these are the assignment operator. And also the main advantage we have here is, even if we want to multiply the values, that is also possible. If I give a multiplied and equal to b, means then a equal to 5 multiplied by 2. So a is now 10. And again, if I use a multiply and equal to b, means now the a equal to 10 multiplied by 2 is 20. So you can clearly see like how it works, and we can use division operator for this also. So this is about assignment operator. So great. Now that we saw all the different operators in a programming. Now let's see one program which will work on that. So I'm simply having all the operators here. So in this program, I'm having two different variables, and where I can get the sum by adding two values. And here I'm simply checking whether that a is less than b. And here I'm having a less than b. And we know that this is a relational operator. So it simply compares and the result of this comparison is true, right? So it simply print 1, and we are applying the logical and here. So if A is less than B and also B is greater than 15, and let's see here. So A is 10 and B is 20. Yes, the first condition is true, and B is greater than 15. Okay, so B we have is 20. So yes, this condition is also true. So when both the condition is true by using logical AND, then the result is true. So this one is true and here also true, and for this the result will be printed as 30. So hope I have covered like all the parts or like most of the parts about operators. Now let's dive into other topics. In Java, conditional statements allow the program to make decisions based on condition. So here's an overview of the main types of conditional statement we can cover in this chapter. So the first thing, in programming, we often need to execute code based on condition. Java provides several ways to handle this. For example, if and else and simple if statement, nested if else and ladder else if. So let's see one by one. So in this conditional statement, as I mentioned before, it will help us to make the decision by programming. So here we have different types of conditional statements. The first one we have is simple if statement and if and else statement. Also we have else if ladder, and we have nested if else. Also we have switch statement. Along with this, we have an extra thing called ternary conditional statements. So let's see them one by one. So the first type of conditional statement is simple if statement. So the purpose of this if statement is it will execute a block of code if a specified condition is true. For example, I'm having one condition, let's say if the age is greater than 18 means then they are eligible to vote. If that's the condition means only if that condition is true, then only it will execute the flow. And let's see the syntax of if statement. We have to give if, and within the parenthesis we have to give whatever the condition. And we know one thing, that the condition will result by either true or false. So when this condition is true, then only the entire block of this if statement will be executed. So here comes that block of code. So if the condition is not true, it is if it is false means, then whatever written within this code, like within this block, won't be executed. So this is the main thing about if statement. So now let's see one example. So here I'm having one variable called age with the value 20, and I'm having one condition here. If age is greater than or equal to 18 means then only you are an adult. So which means we can eligible to vote. And we are covering only the if part. And what about if the age is 5? Even though we are not eligible to vote, at least we have to let them know, like you are not eligible to vote, anything like that, no. So that is important, right? So if the condition is true, we have to let them know. Even if it fails, we have to at least let them know, or we have to do certain process, right? So for that case, we have another concept called if and else statement. Here we can handle both true and false part. So the purpose of this if and else statement is always it will execute one block of code if the condition is true and another block if the condition is false. For example, the syntax of this if and else is if I'm having the condition here, if this condition is true, then whatever the block of code we have here, and this block is applicable only for true. When it is true, so these block will be executed. So there will be executor here, and if suppose if the given condition is false, then whatever inside these block will be executed. So this is for if and else statement. And let's see one example. So in the example, I'm having one number as -5, and if the number is greater than 0, I am simply printing positive number. When it is not, I am printing negative number. But in a simple if statement, we only cover this if block. So what if the other case happens? So then we have to use this if and else block. Now let's see the next part, which is else if ladder. And else if ladder is nothing but like what if we have like more than one condition in the else block. Like here we have simply covered if the number is greater than 0, then it is positive number. Otherwise we are telling negative number, right? But if suppose if we have like multiple conditions to be checked when the first case won't work, right? On that time, this else if ladder will help us. So the purpose of this is it checks the multiple conditions in sequence. If the first condition is true, it will execute the first condition. But if it is not true, then it will move to the next condition. And even the next condition is false means, false means it will again go to the next condition and check until it finds a true block. If suppose there are no conditions that are true means that then it simply goes to the last block, which is a default else block. And that will be executed. And now let's see the syntax. So we have first if case, and if the first condition, so I'm having one condition 1 here, and if this is true, this block will be executed. Block of condition 1 true. And what if the condition fails? Then we will go to else if block. In the previous one we just had else, but now we have else if. So else if I'm having another condition here, condition 2, I can check for this condition, and if this condition is true, it will execute these block of code. And what if this also fails? On that case, I can go with as many as else if blocks I needed. Then if any of the above else if didn't work means, then I will be having one default else block, and which will be executed if none of the above are true. So this will be executed if none of the above are true. So that's it. So this is about else if ladder. So now let's see one example. So here I'm having one grading system. So the student is given with 1 mark and we have to predict the grade. So if the mark is greater than or equal to 90 means we will be giving grade A. But when the mark is less than 90, we will be having a multiple criteria, no? So in that case, we are having another else if, which is checking whether the mark is greater than or equal to 75. So if it is, we are offering another grade. In all other case, if any of the previous condition didn't work means, then we will be heading to the final else block where it is giving a default value as grade C. If we have a multiple grade like A, B, C, D, E, and if any of them didn't work, means we have to go with failed case, means we can do that. That is possible. Now let's go with the next concept, so which is nested if statement. So the nested if statement is nothing but another if and else within one if statement or else statement. It's simply like nested inside. So the syntax of nested if statement is, if we have one if statement and the condition here means, and if this condition is true, within this we may have another if block within this, and that is doing another condition check. So this is how the nested if statement will work. And even for this else block, we may have another if and else block. So this is called nested if statement. Now let's see one example for that. So in this example, what I am doing is, so I just defined one age as 25 and is citizen as true. And if the age is greater than or equal to 18, and again I am testing one condition. So in this case, I can simply say, so the first thing is I can say sout. Sout stands for system.out.println. So sout, you are major, and I can do any other works. Then I can check is citizen, like are they eligible to vote. On that time, I'm checking in another condition here, and if that condition is true, I'm simply printing you can vote. And I can have another else block here where I can say you are not eligible to vote. So this is how this nested if else will work. And finally, we have switch statement under this conditional statements. So the switch statement. So when it comes with else if ladder, so what we have to do is we have to check one by one, right? So if the first condition didn't work, we have to move to the second, and then we have to move to the third, and then we have to move to the fourth, like that, right? But in switch statement, it checks the value of a variable and compares it against a series of possible values like called cases. It's often used as an alternative to multiple if else statement. So it's like instead of deriving entire ladder statement like checking one by one, we can use switch cases where it's simply direct to the place where the condition is matching. So I'm giving a syntax for that. So here within the switch statement, we have switch, and within the switch, we have to pass one variable that may be an integer or character. There are only two possible ways. We cannot pass any other value. And also we can call the switch statement as a menu driven operations also, because like it's simply like we are selecting a menu. So if we are passing one option, means if that option present in that case list means, then that will be executed. If that is not present means, if there is any default case means, then that will be executed. So that's about the switch statement. So here I am having switch and I am passing one variable, and that variable may be some variable with the value like 1, 2, 3, anything, or maybe a letters A and B, anything like that. Okay, and here we have to define the possible options like the case value 1, that may be the first value, that may be a match, and set of lines to execute under that case. And once the first case has been completed, we have to give break, and then we can move to the case 2. So case value 2, and here we have to give the colon instead of semicolon, that's important, and set of lines under that case. Then we can give break statement. Then similarly we can write as many as cases we want. Then if any of the cases didn't work or didn't match means, then we will be going with a default case where we have to mention default and we can write the set of codes over there. And we don't have to put a break here as we are putting a closing curly bracket here. So this is how the switch statement works. For example, if the variable is a equal to 1 and I'm passing the a over here, so I'm simply passing a here and I'm giving the options as case 1, case 2 and case 3, etc. So now if the value of a is 1 means instead of checking for a condition, it simply go to the case 1. If the case 1 is not here means it simply go to the default case. So this is how the switch statement will work. So instead of using multiple if-else statement like else-if ladder statement, we can simply go with switch statement when we have more conditions to check based on the if and else. So now let's see one example here for the switch statement. So we have day equal to 3 here, and if we are passing the day within the switch block means that day may be any values, right? So we are deriving all the possible cases. So if the case 1 means we have to print Monday, and if the case 2 means we have to print Tuesday. So if I pass day as 1 means it will print Monday. If I pass day as 2 means it will print Tuesday. If I pass 3 means then it will pass Wednesday. If I pass 5 means there are no cases defined with 5, right? So it will simply print invalid day. So this is how the switch statement will work. So I hope I have covered like the entire parts about the conditional statement. Now let's go to the next concept and move further.